Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on Superman and Lois. And this will be my review and breakdown for Superman and Lois episode 3, titled The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower. And yeah, once again, another very interesting episode of Superman and Lois, which I cannot wait to talk about. So many stuff went down during this episode, and that Lois Lane mystery as well, that whole investigation stuff, it's so intriguing and I absolutely love it. And there's some more Superboy setup as well, and we had a couple of few things with Clark Kent to talk about, and it is all very exciting stuff. But obviously, if you haven't seen the episode, what are you doing? Spoiler alert, because I will be covering some major spoilers during this video, since this is a breakdown and I'll be going over the episode. So there are some spoilers which you certainly wouldn't want to hear from me. So if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode and come back for the breakdown. Be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so this episode kicks off with the family having some fun, where basically they're choosing which paint they should use for the house. Lois cannot decide which paint to use, and Jonathan's like, oh come on mom, just select the paint already, I don't really care about it. And then Lois picks up a paintbrush and she's like thinking, I'm like, wait, what is she gonna do? And I absolutely love this scene, but she just ends up painting Jonathan, and we basically get this family paint fight, if you want to say, and I absolutely loved it. I really like that. But the whole family gets in it. They just go paint themselves like crazy. And then Clark is able to hear some trouble, so that is when the paint battle ends with Clark, but the family continue. But Clark races all the way to China, I think, and he saves dozens of lives because a bridge was about to collapse. So he basically saves the bridge. The visual effects are so good. This show's visual effects are absolutely stunning. I love it. But once we head back home, we have the family dinner. And Clark basically explains how he was able to go over there and realize that there was trouble. And he tells the kids that he could basically hear stuff from far away. So he is super hearing. And Clark talks about how he's able to distinguish between a voice from someone who's in trouble to someone who isn't. And Clark also mentions that they have to be careful about what the kids are saying during certain situations, so that the family's secret doesn't, spread out. And they need to make sure that they aren't suspicious at all. They shouldn't know a thing. So basically Clark does tell the kids to be careful in regards to what they're saying and what they should do. Now we then have Lana and Kyle arguing in their car as they dropped Sarah off for therapy. And basically Lana's talking about how she's embarrassed by having to wait in the hospital, so she just decided to wait in the car because she doesn't want anybody to be suspicious in regards to what they're doing with their daughter, because Sarah has been through a lot. We then have Sarah coming from her therapy, and she basically enters the car and they just go on their way. Lana's basically trying to get Sarah to talk to her. She's like, okay, what happened during the session? And Sarah isn't up for talking. She's like, that's between me and the doctor, it's none of your business. So we get that type of conflict during the episode between Lana and Sarah, which does get resolved by the end of this episode. But we then head to school, and Jordan basically asks Sarah if they want to hang out. But Sarah cuts the conversation because she sees her boyfriend and her friends right in front of her, so she doesn't want to cause any trouble between her boyfriend and the Super Sons. So she doesn't want to do any of that, so she basically says, okay, I have to go, I'll talk to you later. So she heads to her friends while Jonathan and Jordan are left alone. Now, since Clark is unemployed, he doesn't really have anything to do, so Clark spends most of his time in the farm. And as he's spending his time in the farm, he decides to hear his kids, and he basically finds out that his son is in trouble. He basically hears Jordan getting bullied. So while that is happening, we do see Jordan having that temptation to punch the bully. Like, we do see him closing his fist, and he's about to do it. And basically we have Clark coming in last second, helping his kids. And then when the kids are wondering what he's doing over there, Clark basically mentions that he just came to walk around the school and basically explore what the kids are doing, in which obviously the kids don't buy it. And the kids are not happy because when they get back home, the boys are mad that Clark has been spying on them using his powers. Now we then get this moment between Lois and Clark, and we basically have Lois recalling this moment from the first time when Clark spied on her using super hearing, and Lois mentions how she was mad at him too, and she basically tells him to make the same promise that he made to her, that he will not spy on the kids anymore and just basically give them that privacy, if you will. And obviously that does happen. Clark ends up promising to Jordan and Jonathan that he will not spy on his kids again using super hearing, and the kids accept his apology, so they're on good terms for now. Now, while Lois heads to work, we do have this woman coming in. I cannot remember her name, but she goes up to Lois about Morgan Edge, and she basically wants Edge to pay for the death of her son. And we do have that investigation with Lois Lane, which, as I said before, it's so interesting. From the first time Lois basically caught suspicion from him all the way till this, and as the story progresses, I'm so interested in the story because it's so interesting. And basically we do have a man taking photos from outside as well, so that was pretty interesting as well, and we do obviously find out who he is later on. Now at some cheer practice at the school, we do have Lana yelling at Sarah because she isn't focusing. She has this lack of attention, and Sarah, she still isn't up for talking to Lana. She just says I quit and then she leaves. But meanwhile that is happening, Jordan decides to try out for football, and I absolutely love this. He basically goes into the field, and Jonathan tells him it's a bad idea at first, in which it could be a bad idea, but Jordan doesn't listen, although Jonathan does warn him about his powers and how strong he could be and how this accident could occur. Jordan just totally ignores that, and he kills on the field. He absolutely wrecks everyone, which was so awesome, obviously due to his super strength, so he does have that increased strength over the other kids, and I love that. The coach actually makes Jonathan run like 5 laps or something because he doesn't tell him about this absolutely talented brother that he has. Now we then head to this cafe after school where we have Jonathan, Jordan and Sarah sitting and just talking about their recent things basically. So Jonathan and Jordan basically talk about their football tryouts, and Sarah mentions the breakup with her boyfriend. But then we have Lana coming in, and Lana basically asks Sarah what is going on with her because she left that cheerleading thing. Sarah is just fine, and she's basically talking in front of the boys. She starts to basically, expose the family secrets, if you want to say. That is pretty embarrassing for Lana. And she mentions how, Lana is on pills and her dad basically sleeps on the couch. So her family is a nightmare. That's what she says. And Lana basically makes her leave because she's embarrassed because she's exposing all of this in public. So that doesn't end too well. And Clark then comes in, and Lana isn't up for talking because she's angry about what Sarah has just done. And then he just heads with the kids, and they just eat over there. And they don't say anything about Jordan doing the whole football thing. Jordan just lies to his dad saying, oh, Jonathan did great in football practice today. So yeah, that was a lie which we will progress into during this episode, and we do get an answer towards the end where Clark obviously finds out. Now we find out that Lois Lane is working late, but Lois hears this car beep, and then as she heads out, we do see that her car is on fire. And as I said before, this storyline is very, very interesting. I absolutely love it. Now, obviously, due to a fire being present, we do have the whole fire squad coming, and Kyle Cushing is over there, in which Lois tells Kyle that Morgan Edge was behind this, in which Kyle obviously doesn't believe her because there's no solid proof after all. And when they head back home, Jonathan fights with Jordan about joining the team, and basically Jordan talks about how it just felt good getting the advantage over these bullies for the very first time, and Jonathan is basically hesitant that somebody could get hurt, as I said before. But when Lois comes home, she basically mentions to Clark how she has basically felt stupid for just accusing Morgan Edge out of nowhere. She does know that something is up with Morgan Edge, but the fact that she had no proof at all and she just said, okay, Morgan Edge is behind that, she felt stupid doing that, and you do understand why. But Clark then heads to see Lana with the house paperwork the next day, and basically Lana Lang mentions how great Jordan is on the football field, and Clark is confused. He's like, wait, do you mean Jonathan, not Jordan? But Lana obviously says, no, I mean Jordan, in which Clark isn't too happy about that. But Lana mentions the struggles of her family to Clark, in which you do see Clark feeling bad for her. Like, you do see like him dropping from like a very happy mood into like, a middle mood, if you want to say. And Clark then heads to the school and sees for himself if Jordan has actually joined the football team, in which he sees it with his own very eyes. He sees Jordan in the field just taking out Sarah's ex-boyfriend, and although it was pretty cool to see, yeah, Jordan is in trouble. Now we then head back home, and basically Clark and Lois tell Jordan off for playing football because he isn't the same as others. Like, one mistake could end up killing someone, but Jordan doesn't realize that. And Jordan gets mad at this and he storms off, telling Clark he wishes he wasn't around like he used to be, which, oh damn, that was pretty damn cold. Now Lois and Clark talk by the barn at night, and they basically talk about what they should do, and Lois says that she needs to head out because it seems that her other employees of Morgan Edge has gone missing as well. Now Jonathan then talks to Clark, and he basically mentions that Jordan needs football. He needs football practice because he hasn't seemed that happy in a very, very long time since he joined that football practice, and he's actually making friends once he joined that team. So yeah, Clark basically, he's conflicted, but he's moving along the lines of, okay, I may let him do it because he is happy and he basically loves doing it. And Jonathan does obviously say it will benefit Jordan. So yeah, as I said before, Clark is like, conflicted by it, but obviously towards the end of the episode, he does agree after that. But we obviously have Lois arriving at the local motel, and she's there to see the woman who told her about Morgan Edge and how he has to do something with her son. But as Lois heads into the room, she basically sees the door basically bashed in, and when she heads inside, she obviously sees the man that took the photos of her previously, and obviously this guy is called Subject 11, and Lois attempts to run, but Subject 11 fights against her. He basically shuts the door and prevents Lois from leaving, and we get this cool scene where Lois basically stabs him in the ear, which it was pretty cool to see, but it doesn't really affect him. And Lois basically calls help for Superman, and he just arrives in an instant. They get this awesome fight scene in the house. It was so cool seeing that. I absolutely loved that slow motion scene where we have Clark pushing him over there and we just get that slow motion shot. It was so cool seeing that. But he is as physically as strong as Superman, and basically at the start we do see Subject 11 mopping the floor with Superman, and that is until Superman's able to find another method where he basically freezes him and then speed punches him everywhere, which was awesome. And it does actually seem like a very natural way where Superman would fight, which I loved. And then he obviously gives him like a clothesline and then knocks him out. And we then have Lois calling for Clark, in which Clark rushes that woman in the bathroom to the hospital. Now we then get this great scene between Lana and Sarah where Sarah begins to open up to her, and both of them basically talk about their feelings inside and why Sarah would do the things that she attempted to do. And I'm not going to mention what they are just in case YouTube don't like me mentioning that, but Sarah mentions that she doesn't like it in Smallville. She's unhappy living in Smallville, in which Lana says that they will try and figure something out so that she has this happier life. Now the next morning we then have Clark basically showing Jordan his baseball glove. I don't know what it's called because I don't play baseball. I'm guessing it's just a glove. But he tells him about wanting to play sports when he was younger and how he couldn't do it. But mainly he wanted to play for a girl. And if Jordan wants to play the sport and he can try and control his powers, Clark says you're allowed to play. But he has to be the coach. Clark has to be the coach, and Jordan obviously agrees to that rule. Now while we head to school, we have Clark getting employed as the coach thanks to Lois, but he's working for free. He isn't getting paid or anything. But Jordan talks to Sarah, and basically he tells her he is going to play that next day. and she has plans to come and see him play, which was pretty cool to see. And I think they're gonna set up like a relationship between those two. But one thing I absolutely love, this detail was so cool, where we just see Clark struggling to carry the water as he was faking it. I love that detail that they added onto that. It was so great. Now at school, Lois's editor apologizes to her, and she basically has the whole thing laid out across a board as this mystery and this investigation deepens. As I said, this is so interesting. I cannot wait to see how this is resolved. But this is in fact something that they're going to look further into. Now outside of town, we have this woman killing Subject 11 in his car, and she basically shoots him with heat vision. So yeah, that was a pretty damn cool ending scene. But this woman is actually Lesla from the Supergirl comics, and I'm not entirely sure if this is correct, but I think her name is the Unknown Supergirl, something like that. She is one of the main villains in the Supergirl comics. I just cannot remember her name. I'm pretty sure it was the Unknown Supergirl, or it was just Supergirl in general. It was one of them, but she just pretty much has the same powers as that of the classic Kryptonians. But overall, episode 1 and 2 were still better than this episode, but once again, this was another awesome episode of Superman and Lois. I am so invested in this show. I cannot wait to see this Lois Lane mystery develop, and hopefully we do see more of the Stranger going into episode 4 as well. But as I said, yeah, overall this was a pretty damn enjoyable episode, and I cannot wait for next episode. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment section down below what you guys thought about this episode. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.